Have you ever noticed that there's a constant voice inside your head? A voice that never seems to stop talking, judging, narrating, worrying, and commenting on everything you see, do, and feel? Michael A. Singer, in his book The Untethered Soul, begins by asking us to look directly at this voice. He says the first step in the journey of inner freedom is to recognize that this voice is not who you really are. It's simply mental chatter. Imagine for a moment that someone recorded all your inner thoughts and then played them back to you as a podcast. You would probably be shocked by how random, repetitive, and even irrational most of those thoughts are. Yet, because they happen inside our heads, we often take them very seriously, even though they are not the truth. Singer explains that the voice inside is like an unending roommate who lives in your head, constantly talking whether you want it to or not. Sometimes this roommate encourages you, sometimes it criticizes you, sometimes it scares you, and sometimes it distracts you with useless commentary. The first realization is simple but powerful. You are not this voice. You are the one who hears it. This is a radical shift, because most of us confuse our sense of self with the content of our thoughts. We believe, I am the one who thinks, but the book reminds us that you are not the thinker, you are the observer of thought. This leads us to one of the deepest spiritual insights. There is a difference between the self and the mind. Your true self is not the restless voice, but the one who listens in silence. You are awareness itself. This is why Singer often refers to the mind as a noisy roommate. Just as you don't become your roommate simply because you share space with them, you are not your thoughts simply because they appear inside your consciousness. Think about it. Right now, as you listen or read this, your mind might already be commenting, I get it, I've heard this before, or I don't fully agree, or this sounds interesting. That very commentary is the mind's voice at work. But you, the real you, are the one who notices that commentary. The moment you see this difference, you've taken your first step towards spiritual freedom. Singer gives us an exercise to prove this. If I ask you, who is the one who notices your thoughts? You might at first think it's still you. But look carefully. The thought arises, I am hungry, and then immediately another part of you knows, that's a thought about hunger. That witness, that silent awareness that knows thoughts are happening, is the real seat of your consciousness. It is not bound by the ups and downs of your mental chatter. It simply watches. Why is this important? Because our suffering in life doesn't come from the world outside, it comes from the non-stop voice inside. If someone cuts you off in traffic, the incident itself lasts only a second. But the voice inside can replay it for hours. That idiot! How dare he? What if I had crashed? People are so careless. The suffering continues because the voice won't let go. In contrast, if you were able to simply observe the thought, you could notice, my mind is angry right now, and then let it pass. The event would be over in a moment, instead of becoming a story that ruins your entire day. Singer explains that this inner voice is not bad or evil. It's just programmed by past experiences, fears, and conditioning. It's a survival mechanism, evolved to help us interpret the world. But it has grown wild. The problem is not that the voice exists, the problem is that we identify with it so strongly. We think we are the voice. And so we live as prisoners of our own mental chatter. To make this point clearer, let's use an analogy. Imagine you're sitting on a riverbank, watching the water flow by. Every leaf, stick, or fish that drifts down the river is like a thought passing through your mind. Most of the time, we don't just watch the river. Instead, we jump into it and get swept away by every leaf or log we see. If the thought is pleasant, we want to hold on to it. If the thought is scary, we fight it. If the thought is sad, we drown in it. But what if you could stay on the riverbank, calmly watching the thoughts float by without grabbing any of them? That is the essence of untethering the soul, realizing you are the witness, not the content. This practice of observing thoughts rather than becoming them is the foundation of meditation, mindfulness, and many spiritual traditions. But Singer's explanation makes it very accessible. He says, you are not the voice of the mind, you are the one who hears it. When you truly see this, even for a moment, an incredible sense of relief arises. It's like discovering that you've been carrying a heavy burden on your shoulders without realizing it, and suddenly setting it down. Let's bring this down to daily life. Suppose you feel nervous before giving a presentation. The voice inside says, what if I mess up? What if they laugh at me? What if I forget my lines? Normally, you would believe this voice and spiral into anxiety. But now, imagine simply watching those thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. You notice, my mind is generating fear-based stories right now. Suddenly, you create a little space between you and the thought. In that space, you find freedom. You don't have to fight the thoughts. You don't have to believe them. You just let them come and go. This is the beginning of untethering. Singer emphasizes that observing the voice is not about controlling it or shutting it down. That would only create another struggle inside your mind. Instead, it's about allowing the voice to be there, but choosing not to identify with it. You don't need to silence your inner roommate, you just need to stop confusing them with yourself. The more you practice this, the more distance you create between your consciousness and the noise of your mind. In fact, over time, this shift becomes deeply liberating. Imagine going through life without being dragged into every argument your mind tries to start. Imagine experiencing anger or fear, but not being enslaved by it. Imagine being able to watch jealousy, sadness, or worry pass through, without letting them define your reality. That's the power of this simple yet profound teaching. You are not the voice, you are the one who hears it. And so, the first step in the untethered soul is awakening to this truth. You are pure awareness. You are the observer. You are consciousness itself. Thoughts will come and go, just like clouds in the sky, just like waves in the ocean. But the sky remains untouched, the ocean remains vast. Similarly, you remain untouched by the passing storms of your mind. Once you see this, the journey has begun. But this is only the beginning. Recognizing the inner voice is the doorway. In the next step, Singer guides us into an even deeper practice, letting go of the self we cling to. That is where real freedom lies, and that's what we'll explore in the second part of this journey. Once you understand that you are not the voice inside your head, the next natural question arises. Then who am I? If I am not my thoughts, not my emotions, not even the stories I tell myself, then what is the true self? Michael Singer takes us deeper into this mystery in The Untethered Soul. He explains that most of us live our lives trapped inside a small, tightly defined sense of identity. We create an inner construct, an image of me, and then spend our entire lives defending, maintaining, and protecting it. This constructed self is not your true essence. It's a bundle of past experiences, likes and dislikes, fears and desires. Singer calls it the psyche, and he makes it clear, this is not who you really are. Let's pause and think about this. The self that you call me is often just a story made of memories. If someone asks, who are you? You might answer with your name, your job, your family background, your achievements, or your struggles. But those are just labels. They change over time. You weren't born with a name, a profession, or a story. You were born as pure consciousness, as an open space of awareness. The problem is that as life happens, we begin to identify with every little experience. A heartbreak, a failure, a success, an insult. We hold on to all of it and weave it into our identity. Slowly, we build a psychological cage that defines who we think we are. Singer describes this cage as the personal self. For example, imagine that as a child someone made fun of you for being shy. That painful moment left an impression inside you. Now, every time you face a social situation, your inner voice says, be careful, don't embarrass yourself. People might laugh at you again. You carry that old memory into the present moment, and it shapes your self-image. You start believing, I am a shy person, and you live accordingly. But the truth is, the original moment is long gone. The only reason it still has power is because you haven't let it go. You keep carrying it in your psychological cage. Singer gives a simple but powerful solution. Let go. He says that spiritual growth is not about adding new beliefs or new practices. It's about releasing what you've been holding on to. Every memory, every wound, every fear that you cling to becomes like a thorn stuck inside your heart. The more you protect it, the more it controls you. The way to be free is not to build a thicker armor, but to pull out the thorn. Think about how much energy we spend protecting our self-image. If someone criticizes you, you get upset because it threatens the story of me that you're holding on to. If someone praises you, you feel good, But soon you crave more because your self-image is hungry for validation. Life becomes a constant cycle of defending and feeding this fragile identity. Singer asks, do you really want to live that way? Wouldn't it be more freeing to simply let go of the need to defend the self at all? He gives us another analogy to understand this. Imagine that you're walking through a forest, and you come across a beautiful river. You want to drink from it, but instead of cupping your hands and letting the water flow freely, you try to scoop up the entire river and carry it with you. Obviously, that's impossible. The water becomes heavy, dirty, and stagnant. In the same way, when we try to hold on to every experience, we block the natural flow of life. Experiences are meant to pass through us, not to be stored inside. This teaching is incredibly practical. Let's say someone says something rude to you. Normally, your inner voice grabs it and replays it. Why did they say that? What did they mean? Maybe they don't like me. I should have answered back. That memory becomes a knot inside you. Next time you see that person, you feel uncomfortable. But what if, in the very moment of the insult, you simply chose to let it go? You recognize, that was their energy, not mine. It came, and now it can go. You breathe deeply, and instead of storing it in your psyche, you release it. In that moment, you free yourself. Singer emphasizes that letting go is not suppression. Suppression means pushing an emotion down, pretending it's not there. Letting go means allowing the energy to rise, feel it fully, and then release it without clinging. It's the difference between locking a wild bird in a cage versus opening your hands and letting it fly away. The bird is still there, but it's not trapped inside you anymore. One of the biggest challenges in life is that we don't let go of past pain. We carry it, we replay it, and we let it define us. Singer's invitation is simple: don't cling to it. Just as you are not your thoughts, you are not your past. You are the one who experiences life in this moment. The past is gone, the future hasn't come yet, only the present exists. By letting go of the self that clings to stories, you discover a deeper self that is always free. Now, this doesn't mean that you stop having preferences or stop caring about life. It simply means you stop being controlled by the inner demand to protect the self-image. You stop defending every little wound, and instead, you open up to the flow of life. Singer calls this process transcending the self. It's like stepping out of a cramped little prison cell into the open sky. Let's ground this with a practical example. Suppose you failed at a business venture. If you hold on to that failure, you may develop fear of trying again. Your mind says, I am a failure. I can't succeed. That becomes your identity. But if you practice letting go, you see that failure as just an event that happened, not as a definition of who you are. You release the pain, you release the shame, and suddenly you're free to try again without being weighed down by the past. This is why letting go is such a powerful spiritual practice. Every time you release a memory, a fear, or a wound, you reclaim a piece of your inner freedom. You stop living as the small, fragile self, and you begin to experience life as pure consciousness. Singer says that this process is not something you do once. It's a lifelong practice. Every day, life gives you opportunities to let go. Someone upsets you. Let go. A fear arises. Let go. A desire clings to you. Let go. With each release, you untether your soul a little more. And here's the paradox. The more you let go of the self, the more alive you feel. Most people fear that if they stop clinging to their identity, they will lose themselves. But the opposite is true. When you release the small self, you uncover the vast self, the pure awareness that was always there. This awareness is spacious, joyful, and fearless. It doesn't need defending because it cannot be hurt. It simply is. This is the essence of the second step in the untethered soul. Learn to let go. Stop clinging to every experience. Stop carrying the weight of the past. Stop defending the fragile story of me. Instead, allow life to flow through you. As you do, you'll discover that freedom is not something you achieve in the future. It's something you uncover right now by releasing your grip. And once you've started letting go of the self, something miraculous begins to happen inside. The energy of your heart, the life force itself, begins to flow freely again. This takes us to the next step in the journey, awakening the energy within. That's what we'll explore in the third part. If the first step is realizing you are not the voice inside your head, and the second step is letting go of the false self you cling to, then the third step in the Untethered Soul is about something even more powerful: opening the heart. Michael A. Singer explains that the human heart is not just a physical organ. It is also an energy center, the seat of our deepest feelings, our love, our joy, and our connection to life itself. When the heart is open, energy flows freely through us. When the heart is closed, energy gets blocked, and we feel stuck, heavy, and disconnected. Think about a time when you felt completely alive. Maybe while watching a sunset, listening to music, or being with someone you deeply love. In those moments, your heart was open. You felt light, expansive, and connected to something larger than yourself. Now think about a time when you were hurt, betrayed, or rejected. You probably felt your chest tighten, like you wanted to protect yourself. That's the heart closing. We don't realize it, but this opening and closing of the heart happens every single day. Every time we resist life, we close down. Every time we let go and surrender, we open up. Singer describes this process in very simple terms. Life is always flowing. Energy is always moving. But because we resist certain experiences, because we don't want to feel pain, rejection, or fear, we shut our hearts. It's like slamming a door whenever something uncomfortable comes near. The problem is, when we keep the door shut, we don't just block out pain, we also block out joy. We live in a guarded, contracted state, afraid to let life in. Imagine a river flowing through you, from your head to your toes. This river is your life energy, what ancient traditions call prana or chi. When your heart is open, the river flows smoothly, nourishing every part of your being. You feel alive, creative, and joyful. But every time you resist, every time you hold on to pain, it's like throwing rocks into the river. Over time, the flow becomes blocked, and you feel drained, anxious, or depressed. The only way to restore the flow is to remove the rocks, in other words, to let go of the blockages inside. Singer gives a clear example. Suppose someone you love deeply hurts you. In that moment, you feel your heart closing. The natural tendency is to protect yourself, to avoid feeling the pain. But when you resist, you don't just block that single moment, you create a long-term blockage. From then on, every time something reminds you of that person or that situation, the pain resurfaces because it was never released. The key is not to fight the pain or suppress it. The key is to allow it to pass through you. You open your heart, breathe, and let the energy flow. This practice of keeping the heart open is one of the most transformative teachings in the Untethered Soul. Singer says, "Do not close your heart, no matter what happens." At first, this sounds impossible. How can I keep my heart open when someone betrays me? How can I stay open when life feels unfair? But Singer's point is that closing your heart only punishes you. The pain is already there. Closing only traps it inside you. If you stay open, the pain moves through and eventually leaves. If you close, you keep carrying it forever. This is why forgiveness is so powerful. Forgiveness is not about saying that what happened was okay. It's about choosing not to let your heart remain closed because of it. When you forgive, you release the energy that was stuck inside you. You open up again, and life can flow freely. Let's put this into a practical story. Imagine you're driving home, and another car cuts you off dangerously. Your immediate reaction is anger. Your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, and you start yelling inside your car. That's your heart closing in response to fear and frustration. Now, in that moment, you have a choice. You can keep feeding the anger, replaying the event in your mind, and carrying that tension all evening. Or you can notice, my heart is closing right now. You take a deep breath, relax your chest, and let the energy move through. The event is over. You don't have to carry it inside anymore. That's living with an open heart. Singer explains that the reason we suffer so much is because we keep closing. Every little thing becomes a reason to shut down. Someone doesn't text back? We close. Someone disagrees with us? We close. Someone ignores us? We close. Over time, we live in a prison of our own walls. But if we decide, as a practice, to keep our hearts open no matter what, something extraordinary happens. Life becomes lighter. We stop being controlled by fear. We feel a natural flow of joy that comes not from outside circumstances, but from within. Another important insight Singer shares is that love is not something you get from others. It's something that flows naturally from an open heart. Most people believe, I will feel love when someone loves me. But the truth is, when your heart is open, you are love. You don't have to wait for someone else to make you feel it. It flows from within. This is why spiritual masters seem radiant and joyful even without external reasons. They have learned to keep their hearts open, regardless of what happens around them. Of course, keeping the heart open doesn't mean allowing people to mistreat you or staying in harmful situations. It simply means not letting those experiences close you down inside. You can set boundaries, you can walk away, but you do so from a place of openness, not bitterness. That's real strength. One of Singer's most beautiful teachings is that the heart is like a valve for the soul. When it's open, you feel connected to the vastness of life. When it's closed, you feel isolated and small. So the practice is simple but challenging. Notice when your heart starts to close, and consciously relax and let it open again. Over time, this becomes a way of living, a decision to stay open no matter what. Imagine how your life would change if you lived this way. Instead of being controlled by fear and defensiveness, you would meet each moment with openness. Instead of shutting down when challenged, you would let the experience move through you. Instead of carrying resentment, you would release it and remain free. This is the life of an untethered soul, a life where energy flows, love radiates, and the heart remains open. And here's the most inspiring part. When your heart stays open, you don't just change yourself, you also change the world around you. People feel your openness. They feel your love, your presence, your acceptance. You become a source of light, simply by being who you are. And that, Singer says, is one of the highest purposes of life. So far, we've learned 3 essential steps. You are not the voice in your head. You are not the limited self you cling to, you can let go. You are the energy of an open heart, and your freedom lies in keeping it open. But life is not always easy. Fear, insecurity, and the need for control still try to pull us down. In the next step of this journey, Singer shows us how to go even deeper, how to free ourselves from fear and the endless need to control everything around us. That's what we'll explore in the 4th part. So far in the Untethered Soul, Michael Singer has guided us through profound steps toward inner freedom. First, we learned that we are not the voice inside our heads. Second, we saw the power of letting go of the false self. Third, we discovered how opening the heart allows life's energy to flow through us. But even as we practice these insights, there remains a force that repeatedly pulls us back into suffering. Fear. Fear drives us to protect, to resist, and above all, to control. Singer explains that at the root of nearly all human struggle is fear of life's uncertainty. We cannot control what people think, what events will happen, how others will behave, or even how our own bodies will age and eventually die. Faced with this overwhelming unpredictability, the mind tries to create an illusion of control. It builds walls, strategies, and defenses to keep us safe. But the harder we try to control life, the more anxious, limited, and fragile we become. Think of standing on a beach and trying to command the waves. No matter how much you shout or demand, the ocean will not obey. Life is like that ocean, vast, dynamic, and beyond personal control. The more we resist it, the more we suffer. The more we surrender, the more we discover peace. This resistance begins early in life. From childhood, we learn to avoid pain at all costs. We avoid situations, people, risks, even opportunities, simply because we are afraid of discomfort or failure. At first, it feels like we are protecting ourselves. But slowly, our lives shrink. We stop trying new things. We stop speaking our truth. We stop living freely. We become prisoners of our own fear. Take a moment to reflect. How many times has fear stopped you from living fully? How many dreams have been postponed? How many words left unspoken? How many moments missed because fear whispered, "What if something goes wrong?" Fear doesn't just guard us from pain, it steals our vitality. So what's the solution? Singer offers a radical answer. Stop trying to control everything. Instead of resisting life, relax into it. When fear arises, don't fight it, and don't let it close your heart. Simply breathe, relax your body, and watch the fear move through you. It is only energy. Like every wave, It rises and falls. The only thing that keeps fear alive is your resistance to it. This practice requires courage, but not the courage of fighting. It's the courage of surrender. To say, yes, life is uncertain. Yes, I cannot control everything. And I am willing to face it with an open heart. That is true bravery. Consider a simple example. Giving a speech. Fear arises, the racing heart, sweaty palms, the mind screaming, "What if I fail?" Normally, we contract. We tighten our bodies. We try to control every detail, and the fear only grows stronger. But what if instead, in that very moment, we take a deep breath, soften our chest, and simply allow the fear to pass? We step on stage anyway, with openness. The fear might still be there, but it no longer controls us. Singer says much of our suffering comes not from the events of life, but from our desperate need to control outcomes. We obsess over the future, replay the past, and try to manage every little detail. Yet the truth is, the universe is far greater than our plans. Look at nature. Stars are born, planets move, seasons change, rivers flow, all without our control. When we align with this flow, when we stop demanding life to obey us, we discover trust. This is the essence of surrender, not giving up, but letting go of the illusion of control. You still act, you still make choices, but you no longer cling to the results. If things go your way, you stay open. If they don't, you also stay open. Either way, your inner freedom remains intact. Singer also reminds us of death as the ultimate teacher. No matter how much control we try to exert, death is certain. Most people fear it so deeply that they avoid thinking about it. But awareness of death can awaken us. It shows us how fragile and temporary everything is. And instead of being paralyzed by this truth, we can be liberated by it. If life is temporary, why waste it in fear? Why waste it trying to control what cannot be controlled? Why not live fully, openly, joyfully, right now? So imagine this way of being. Instead of living small, trapped by fear, you expand into life. Instead of closing your heart at every threat, you stay open. Instead of fighting reality, you trust it. You flow with life's waves, even when they crash. You stop gripping the safety bar and instead throw your arms in the air, laughing as the ride unfolds. That is the freedom Singer points us to, a freedom that comes not from controlling life, but from surrendering to it. And once you begin to live this way, you discover that life itself carries you. The burden of fear lifts, the obsession with control fades, and you awaken to a deeper truth, that you were never in danger to begin with. And this leads us to the final step of the journey. Once you release fear and control, what remains is pure awareness, open heart, and deep trust. In that state, you awaken fully to the miracle of existence itself. This is the life of the untethered soul, and it's the subject of our final section. We've now explored 4 stages of the journey in the untethered soul. First, we learned that we are not the voice in our heads, we are the one who hears it. Second, we discovered the practice of letting go of the false self. Third, we saw the importance of keeping the heart open to let energy flow freely. Fourth, we recognized how fear and control keep us trapped, and how surrender sets us free. Now, in the final step, Michael Singer invites us into the most beautiful realization of all, to live untethered, to awaken fully to life as pure awareness, free, open, and limitless. Awakening begins with a shift in identity. Most of us believe we are the me, a bundle of thoughts, emotions, and personal history. We believe we are our successes and failures, our relationships, our roles, our fears. But Singer reminds us that all of these are temporary. The body changes, the mind changes, circumstances change, but one thing never changes: the awareness that notices it all. That awareness is the real you. It was there when you were a child, it is here now, and it will be here until your last breath. When you stop identifying with the little self and start resting in awareness, you awaken to freedom. What does this mean in daily life? It means that joy is no longer dependent on conditions. You don't need people to treat you a certain way, or events to unfold in your favor, in order to feel whole. You remain open no matter what. Pain may come, but you don't cling to it. Pleasure may come, but you don't cling to that either. You live each moment as it is, without resistance. Life flows through you like a river, and you float on its current with ease. Singer uses the metaphor of life as a ride. Imagine you're on a roller coaster. Most people grip the safety bar tightly, screaming in fear, trying to make the ride stop or change. But the awakened soul lets go. Arms up, heart open, they embrace every twist, turn, and drop. The highs and lows no longer matter. It's all part of the ride. This is the essence of living untethered, not trying to control the ride, but enjoying it as it unfolds. When you live this way, death itself becomes your teacher. Instead of fearing it, you let it remind you how precious life is. If you truly accepted that every day could be your last, how differently would you live? Would you waste energy on petty fears, grudges, or endless control? Or would you live with openness, with gratitude, with love? Awareness of death sharpens awareness of life. It helps you drop what doesn't matter and open fully to what does. Living untethered also transforms relationships. Instead of clinging to others for validation, you love freely. Instead of fearing rejection, you keep your heart open. Instead of controlling people, you allow them to be who they are. Love becomes something you give, not something you demand. Connection becomes natural, effortless, and joyful. People feel your openness, and they are drawn to it. Perhaps the most liberating realization is that you are already whole. Nothing needs to be added to you. You don't need to achieve more, acquire more, or prove yourself to anyone. Freedom is not in the future. It is here, now, in the very moment you stop resisting. Singer says, "The day you are willing to see your thoughts as thoughts, and emotions as emotions, you will come to know that you are the one who is aware of them." That is freedom. So what does it look like to live untethered? It looks like waking up with gratitude for another day of life. It looks like embracing challenges as opportunities to stay open. It looks like moving through fear with courage, trusting the flow of existence. It looks like letting joy radiate from within you, instead of chasing it outside. It looks like surrendering the endless demand that life must fit your preferences, and instead, loving life exactly as it is. This is not about escaping life, but about engaging with it more fully. You still work, love, create, and contribute. But now you do it from freedom, not from fear. You act not because you need to complete yourself, but because life naturally flows through you. Every moment becomes an expression of awareness, an unfolding of the soul. As we close this journey through the untethered soul, remember, the teachings are not just ideas to be understood, they are practices to be lived. When the mind chatters, remind yourself, "I am not that voice." When fear arises, tell yourself, "I can relax and let it pass." When your heart wants to close, whisper, "I choose to stay open." When life surprises you, say, "I surrender to the flow." And when death crosses your mind, let it remind you, this moment is precious. Live it fully. So right now, take a deep breath. Let go of the past. Release the need to control the future. Open your heart to this very moment. This, here and now, is the life of the untethered soul. A life of freedom, of peace, of joy. A life beyond fear. A life awake.